I do have to apologize for the sound. I am still figuring out my equipment, and I know there are some sound issues in this video, but hopefully I will get them cleared up and they will be sounding much better in the future. So thank you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Dungeon Masters Mojo, the channel where I like to talk about the little bit of magic that Dungeon Masters and players throw into their games to make sure that it's fun for everyone sitting around the table, or as of late, on a screen. But either way it works, we all need a little bit of mojo in our lives. And that mojo comes into our games at many different times. It could be in the beginning at character creation or at the very end when a character is passed and you've got to come up with something to make it memorable. But every dungeon master and every player has had to do this a time or two, or at least wanted to. And it's important to know that throwing in that little bit of mojo is what helps make Dungeons and Dragons such an amazing experience. Because you have that creativity, you have that ability to come up with something on the fly. And for the dungeon master, it just seems he has to do it a little more often than most of the players. But even as a player, you should keep it in mind that you might need to throw in some magic once in a while too. I had a game recently where I was a player, and the dungeon master was fairly new. I'd only done it a couple times and was still fairly inexperienced, learning the rules and trying to figure out her style. And it was amazing to watch. I've been DMing since 1986, uh, pretty steady for a while, on and off for a while, and I'm back to being really steady. So I have experience. I'm not the best by any means. I'm my dungeon master. And seeing someone new come in and throw in her experiences and the way she wanted to play was a lot of fun for me. And it was fun watching her take her mojo and throw it into the game. Because as a player, I have to admit, me and some of the other players decided to mess with her a little bit. And that's what players do. If you're a new dungeon master, believe me, especially if you have an experienced player, they're going to mess with you. And it's okay. You can deal with it. If your players aren't following the adventure guidelines or what you have laid out, there's probably a reason. It may be because their interest was piqued in some other direction, or they saw a shiny NPC that they wanted to figure out what her deal was. So don't take it as anything against you. That's the first bit of magic. Don't ever take what your players are doing as something against you. They're probably just trying to experience something that they think their character would, or something that they've never done in the game before, and they want to try out. Now, there are those hateful instances where players might be against a DM. Well, you don't want to be in that group, and that's pretty simple there. You should never be against the DM, and the DM should never be against the players. I've said that before, and I will continue to say it. This is fun for all of us. So anyway, if your players are going against your plan, they're not going against you. They're just going for themselves. And you as the dungeon master, the guide, need to change up a little bit, throw in a little bit of your mojo. And what we did to this poor dungeon master was not great, but we weren't against her. We were just exploring new options. We were supposed to go to the house on the hill and do an investigation and figure out what was going on in the area, deal with the beast and go to a final encounter. It was just a one shot, supposed to be a fairly short encounter, but we ended up dragging it on too long. What we did is we took some minor NPCs that were in the town and actually turned it into a full-fledged encounter. We didn't go full murder hobo, but we were pretty close. And I don't think this DM was prepared for that. So we kind of threw her for a loop. But I watched her reactions and, well, was listening to them because this was remote. And I liked how she dealt with it. She laughed. She realized that we were messing with her. Not in a bad way, just having fun. And she course corrected a little bit. It extended the one shot to a much longer game, but that's okay. We all had the time. And when she threw in her magic and started role playing some of those characters in a way that she didn't have planned, it was really fun. I really enjoy watching new DMs learn their own skills, learn their own way of playing, and learn how to use magic. Because, like I said, we all need a little bit of mojo. One of the effects that this had, though, was that she felt like she had done something wrong. And we talked about it because at the end of each game, and I think Jenny D just talked about this in one of her videos, that the dungeon master at some point after a session should talk to the players and say, hey, how did you feel it went? Did everything seem okay to you? Is there something you think I should do better? Critiques are wonderful. And hopefully you get some honest critiques from your players because it will make you a better DM. And she felt bad about how it didn't go according to her plan. Well, myself and another player tried to tell her that it didn't matter that it didn't go according to her plan. She still made the evening fun for all of us. And I felt bad that she felt like she did something wrong. So I tried to reassure her that not only did she not do anything wrong, she did everything just right. She followed the player's lead. And sometimes that's the little bit of magic that you need to use, is following the player's lead. They may take a right into the thick underbrush when there are clearly two trails right ahead of them. Well, deal with the underbrush then. And it helps by being able to watch a lot of videos, read a lot of books, read fantasy books, read guidebooks, watching movies. There are ideas that you can use for encounters or situations or role-playing NPCs all around you every day. I'm sure there's somebody at your corner supermarket store that if you really think about putting him in leather armor and putting a rapier on his side, he'd be a wonderful NPC in your game. Again, that's just a little bit of mojo that you can put into your game. One thing about Dungeons and Dragons is you should never feel that because something doesn't go along with the script that it's wrong, because the script is created while you're playing. And that's a wonderful thing. That's a magical thing, that the story is interactive and ongoing as you play. So never feel bad if something goes against your plan, because if you really think about it, the only plan is what the characters have. You may have an encounter to steer them towards, but if they don't go to it, it's not your fault. It's their fault. So don't make it a problem. Don't make it a fault necessarily. Just make it a choice. They chose to do something else. And you as the DM can guide them into still a very fun encounter, just something that you might have to create, or something that you remember from a book that you read 5 years ago, or a movie that you watched last week. There's always something around you or something that you've done that you can use for that magic.
And so to all the new DMs out there, it's okay to be scared. It's okay to be nervous. If your players go off the rails a little bit, it's all right. Just take a little break. Watch a quick video. Read a magazine article. Find something that will give you a little bit of mojo to throw into your game to keep it going. Your players will roll with it, and you'll learn over time. Everyone gets better the more they do something. So put a little mojo in your game. Everyone will like it. So thank you for watching Dungeon Masters Mojo again. And like and subscribe down below. Tell your friends about it. And if you like what I'm doing, or if you have a comment, leave something below. If you have a question, ask me a question about how I do something, or something you encountered in your game and you didn't quite know what to do. I may not know exactly what to say, but I can give you some ideas on where to go with it. So thanks again, and look forward to seeing you next time.